Tom Hanks sat down with Jeffrey Brown back in 2017 to discuss his book, Uncommon Type, and the Harvey Weinstein question popped up. What's interesting is what Hanks' body language said in those moments, as you're about to find out. Welcome back, my body language buddies. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the body language guy, and it would be great if you join us by just liking this video, subscribing, and hitting that bell. Let's get down to it. Let's see how many emotional clues can you spot in the following clip.
I think there was knowledge amongst a certain group of people, mostly who did business with Harvey Weinstein. There are countless women who understood that that's what happened, and there were many people who said, well, that's just Harvey being Harvey.
We could see two evident emotional displays, such as a classic shrug and he fiddling with his glasses. Those are the easier to spot, especially because when he shrugged, he was stuttering at the same time. We are just getting started. There's no direct meaning in these signals, but it's important to take note of them. It's also easy to notice how Hanks talks about the matter nodding in a way of connecting with Brown about this terrible topic. Also, that eyebrow raise when he emphasizes the concept of many people saying that this was just Harvey being Harvey, as a way of saying that yes, it was many people. As usual, we should pay attention to people's words, because that's how we can compare the body language to what they are saying. Let's see if you can spot the underlying idea in the words that Hanks is about to say next.
Any place there's a boss with underlings, in any corporation or any industry, you have a type of sexual politics that goes on that can slide in between appropriate ethics and decorum to inappropriate behavior to the point of harassment and sexual predatory behavior.
Well, I mean, I think people understand that, but the large...
One thing that caught my attention is that to the present question of this culture of casting couch in Hollywood, he tries to frame the concept as something general that can happen in any corporation or any industry. Well, he's not wrong. People abusing their power in a sexual way can happen in any of these structures, and the more power, the higher the odds. But it's like saying that people in my neighborhood throw cigarette butts on the floor, but people in every neighborhood does that. You're not directly saying that it's not that bad, but you're implying that it's not that bad. Like, there are so many other examples of the same thing happening. Though we have to at least compare what we have seen so far with other gestures, postures, and attitudes in the same interview to see if there is a break in his body language patterns. And we take a look at other moments during this interview when we was being asked less pressing and less disturbing questions. He was much more relaxed and his body language was more chatty. Notice how he has no problem using his hands to express himself at this point, using illustrator gestures to emphasize his words. In another posture, he was not crossing his legs, but even so, he kept his hand covering his groin. Maybe it's a bit of a defensive posture, or maybe he doesn't feel comfortable sitting like this. The same when he crosses his legs the other way. His right hand still looks relaxed. This is his body language baseline, or his usual body language expression, and this is how we know he was nervous with the Weinstein questions. I told you to look at Hank's body language, especially his hands, just to have an idea of his nonverbal expression when he is relaxed and feels confident. Let's watch the following clip, still talking about Harvey Weinstein, and compare his hand gestures.
The dam has burst here in a big way, and it is not just the halls of places like Harvey Weinstein's office where this was standard operating procedure.
Yeah, his right hand is much more tense than any other moment of this interview, firmly grasping the armrest, while his left hand also shows illustrator gestures with a lot of tension. This is why it's so important to spot different moments of people's body language, so you will have a direct understanding of which topics do they like and which topics make them feel uneasy. In this case, it's just one hand, but in other cases, it can also be a foot that shakes, a movement of the head, or even a person of the lips. That's one of the reasons one of the most important abilities you could develop is being able to read people's body language out of the corner of your eye, so you can see their whole expression at the same time. This ability is included in my complete program to read people that you can unlock for yourself in my Body Language and Persuasion Masterclass. You can find all the information on how to join with the link in the description of this video. Now let's compare Hank's body language with another interview where he was also addressing this delicate topic. One tip, make sure to focus on his forehead this time.
We got to hear from everybody so that we understand how vast and how all-encompassing this was. That's A. B is, it's all got to change. Look.
Hanks has these wrinkles in his brow area that are permanent, I guess from having his eyebrows tense all the time. I mentioned how some vertical wrinkles signal sadness, but in his case, it's part of his everyday wrinkles, if you want to name them in some way. But it's worth noticing that at the start of the clip, there was further tension on his forehead in the shape of horizontal lines that disappear seconds later. So whatever emotion he was feeling at that moment, he was releasing it. Hard to spot on his brow area, but his forehead revealed it. We should make sure to take these body language signals as markers to better understand the emotional state of the person. And it always depends on your intentions. It depends if you want to make the person feel better, or you just want to carry on a nice conversation, or you want people to reveal a bit more about themselves. This is a common interrogation technique. You don't use the same tactic or strategy over all the interrogation process. First, you need to identify the topics that elicit an emotional response. If your goal is to make the person like you, then you make sure that they feel good. And the best way to do it is to make them talk about the things they like. When you find out what it is, you double down on it. It's way trickier when you want people to open themselves to you. You can't just ask the pressing questions. You need them to relax first. That's why sometimes we need to backtrack over some topics. Maybe just play the fool and paraphrase a question so it doesn't sound as annoying. But if you think about it, when you're interested in what a person says and you're not familiarized with the topic, it's perfectly okay to ask for details. Now, having this in mind, let's take another look at that first clip that you saw, now that your brain had a couple minutes to digest it.
I think there was knowledge amongst a certain group of people, mostly who did business with Harvey Weinstein. There are countless women who understood that that's what happened, and there were many people who said, well, that's just Harvey being Harvey.
The difference is that you're watching the clip after watching the one from the BBC interview. The attitude is different. There are many more emotional displays. He even stutters when talking about the topic. You can actually compare and confirm that he's affected in some way. And there is another clue from the way Hanks talks about this. He says, a certain group of people knew, or many people said. Of course, he's never going to give any names, and it would have been an uncomfortable moment if Brown asked, do you know of someone in particular that you could name? But he's carefully choosing his words to distance himself from that topic. He can't avoid that because he's one of the greatest A-listers in Hollywood. So it would be naive to think that he did not know, at least as a rumor, what was happening in Harvey Weinstein offices. I will be digging deeper in this topic, and that's why I'll be reviewing those disturbing Kevin Spacey videos as well. If you want to refine your observation skills, all you have to do is download my 100 body language tips right in the description of this video. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas, and it will always be a pleasure, my body language buddies. Much love and bliss.